following is from the Academy of Self-Awareness series, which represents an egalitarian community of individuals whose consecrated lives are devoted to the truth of being for the betterment of mankind. The title of this self-awareness offering is In the Present Tense, which is a here-now look at ultimate reality by the pantheist Gordon Gardner. When we look into God, which created the self, we find the self which created God. Pantheists do not accept the theory of monotheism, polytheism, or pantheism, because they are fully aware through theognosis that God is all there is, and all there is God. The I am that I am is the same I am that God is, in view of the reality that the point of awareness that I am is the center of consciousness that God is. Or very simply, I am, therefore God is. It has been said that the center of God is everywhere because the circumference of God is nowhere, which simply means that God as Spirit is omnipresent. It is also an absolute truth that God as mind is omniscient, and that God as nature is omnipotent. This means that all there is God, and God is all there is. All of mankind and all of manifestation is therefore God, which, if accepted, puts an end to the identity crisis forever. This gnosis cardius, meaning knowledge of the heart, is known as panentheism, not pantheism, because of an awareness of at-one-ment. In other words, I don't believe that God is in me because I know that God is me, and you, and that, and it, since all there is it being God. There really is no such doctrine as panentheism, since it cannot be theorized, hypothesized, dogmatized, or made into a teaching doctrine. It can only be realized as an enlightenment experience of at-one-ment and a total encounter with cosmic consciousness as the solitary consciousness. Spiritual understanding reveals to all panentheists that cosmic consciousness is the omnipresence of God as Spirit. Cosmic reason is the omniscience of God as mind, while cosmic life energy is the omnipotence of God as nature. God is therefore a spirit, mind, nature, trinity in unity, and not a person, nor is it the three persons of the enigmatic Holy Trinity, as in the Father, Son, Holy Ghost of churchianity. When we look into God, which created the self, in its image and likeness, we find the self which created God in its image and likeness. Pantheists, having had an enlightenment experience as the result of seeking the truth of being within their individual being, practice the presence of God consciousness in all of their deeds and dealings, and attempt to share their awareness only to genuine seekers who approach them for clarification. Pantheists are also theognostics, meaning God-realized individuals who have divine knowledge, which has been called gnosis cardius, meaning knowledge of the heart. It is not possible to be a panentheist or a theognostic without having first become familiar with cosmic consciousness, cosmic reason, cosmic life energy as the root of knowing at the core of being. This is the ultimate reality of the absolute logos, beyond which it is impossible to proceed, inasmuch as it is a condition of at-one-ment in the awareness of the infinite, withinness of it all. Such awareness is supraliminal as a brain-mind-cosmos ultimate reality actualization. The self is realized as a source-actualized cosmic individuation who can state with cosmic impunity, the I am that I am is the same I am that God is. Realize this truth, and the realization shall preserve your freedom for eternity. A blissful complacence due to a euphoric continuity will fill your being with the awareness that the who that I am is the whole of spirit, the wholeness of mind, and the wholesomeness of nature. The one ever-expanding virtue within such a being is integrity, which is an efficacious housekeeper, since the body is the temple of the living God. This one virtue tends to all of the countless vices which may get lodged temporarily within the living temple. An aura of wisdom, integrity, temerity, serenity envelops the human temple like a protective suit. Wisdom is the illumined path which leads within. Integrity is the sense of truth discovered within. Temerity is the daring to be directed from within. Serenity is the return to being at peace within. The ultimate reality of cosmic consciousness is the solitary source of all realities, wherein each is a singular point of awareness at the center of the source and a direct issue of cosmic consciousness. This means that every event, thing, person, and circumstance is the culminating point of a circumstantial issue at the very center of ultimate reality within the solitary source consciousness. The recognition of this absolute integration by way of an ultimate enlightenment experience is the consummation of a source issue conscious awareness and a God-realized soul. God is the source of ultimate light, which, when abbreviated, is S-O-U-L, soul. Therefore, God and soul are an inseparable unity. God as soul is the nucleus of every particle of matter which constitutes any and all of the manifested forms throughout the mineral, plant, animal, and human realms of existence, which makes God existence itself. All of manifestation is spirit as energy within nature as matter, appearing as any and all forms of existence, without exception. Such is the awareness of panentheists, inasmuch as each of them, in their turn, have fully realized that God is all there is, and all there is God. Once it is understood that God is the superlative force of an everywhere present source, consciousness, the issue awareness is realized as much God as God is. Thus, another panentheist is made cognizant of ultimate reality. Reality has many levels. There is the internal reality of self-awareness, the external reality of environmental awareness, the supraliminal reality of transcendental awareness, the integral reality of self-actualized awareness, and the ultimate reality of cosmic consciousness, the absolute source of all relative realities. Any feeling of separation and differentiation is an unreality and impossible estrangement from the everywhere present source consciousness. This painful dilemma is the problem of the ego-fabricated, self-conscious personality which has no reality of its own, since it is an emotional intellectual delusion resulting from vapid bondage to a selfish desire as a prisoner of chronological time due to a spiritless belief in a conceptualized duality. The doctrine of dualism is a fiction devised by the normal emotional intellect of the spiritually blind religiosity of churchianity. The mass mind sphere, in bondage to the false doctrine of dualism, collectively suffers with a deceived, impeding, misbegotten sentimentality which keeps the splendor of the soul imprisoned in a labyrinth of ideological confusion. This cul-de-sac of dead issues has been appropriately called the dark night of the soul, simply because the light of pure reason is blocked from entering into the individual point of awareness by the ego self of personality, which is the dweller on the threshold of conscious mind, that keeps the soul in the dark. Agnostics preach the existence of a heaven and a hell, with a capricious anthropomorphic God and a determined anthropomorphic devil vying for control over men's souls. The individual soul is born again and again into myriad bodies on its eternal journey throughout the infinite realms of differing realities. The cosmic law of reincarnation and karma allows the immortal soul to constantly make spiritual progress, always tending to become more highly developed and comprehensive of ultimate reality. God, being the source of ultimate light, is the soul during its dark night of imprisonment until its splendor is released into the light of pure reason, thus the becoming of a God-realized soul in an infinite eternal state of natural spiritual at-one-ment. The master who stated, "Death, where is thy sting? Grave, where is thy victory?" was obviously a God-realized soul, as Apollonius of Tirana had to be because of this statement. The change from being to becoming seems to be birth, and the change from becoming to being seems to be death. But in reality, no one is ever born, nor does one ever die. Another God-realized soul, an evolved panentheist, who was often accused of being a pantheist and heretic, was a celebrated 14th century mystic and Roman Catholic priest by the name of Meister Eckhart. He made this controversial statement along with many others. You must love God as not God, not spirit, not person, not image, but as he is, a sheer, pure, absolute one, sundered from all two-ness, and in whom we must eternally sink from nothingness to nothingness. Another beautiful statement in the Acts of John reveals that its author was obviously sundered from all two-ness, and was therefore free from the insane doctrine of dualism, as expressed in this enigmatic manner. For as long as thou callest not thyself mine, I am not that which I am. But if thou hear me, thou hearing shalt be as I am, and I shall be that which I was when I have thee as I am with myself. Unquote. The same meaning was expressed earlier by the present author with the statement, when we look into God, which created the self in its image and likeness, we find the self which created God in its image and likeness. The intellectuals who claim to know anything and everything are suffering with an information overload. It's Socrates, who walked in wisdom, admitted, the only thing I know for certain is that I know nothing. Obviously had an inwardly known, keenly felt connection with the root of knowing at the core of being, which is the source of ultimate light, as the God consciousness within. Socrates, like other God-realized souls, tested his cognizance by way of the ever-renewing God consciousness within his being, and thereby tapped into the source of ultimate light. All God-realized souls listen to the voice of intuition, which is the will of the indwelling God consciousness. The God consciousness within is the solitary power source, so therefore all God-realized souls act solely upon the will of God, with the power of God. There is nothing strange about this, since there is no other will but the one which has all power, and souls in conflict are that way because of the willfulness and the powerlessness of the conditioned mind of personality. This keeps the soul in the dark night, with the source of ultimate light the imprisoned splendor, which must be released before the soul can knowingly state, the I am that I am is the same I am that God is. This condition of at-one-ment is the spirit-mind-nature interconnection of as above, so below, as below, so above, within the everywhere present consciousness of holism. That which is being referred to as the fall of man was actually the materialization of the etheric man into manifestation, thereby interconnecting a spiritual realm and a natural realm. An intentional disconnect from the infinite eternal consciousness of holism took place, and humankind lost touch with its inherent spirit, which is that which manifests, animates, and actualizes their intrinsic nature within the universal mind. The solitary purpose of the disconnect was and is for the individualization of spirit as unique, distinct, and peerless points of awareness in, of, and as the uncircumscribable consciousness of holism. Each human being an individual and singular issue, representative of the indivisible and solitary source. The source consciousness is the infinite eternal noumenon, while the issue awareness is the boundless, interminable phenomenon, in a perpetual noumenal phenomenal interplay of spirit nature. They are complementary attributes inasmuch as the one implies the other within a spirit-mind-nature interconnectedness. If this cosmic intent and divine purpose is not known by humankind, it's directly attributable to the many man-made ideologies which postulate and propagate the limited and limiting doctrine of dualism, which has driven a wedge between the individual psyche and soma. Because of this individual disconnect of awareness from the indivisible consciousness of holism, dualism splits nature, the issue, from Spirit the Source. This split, however, only seems to be because of the one-sided viewpoint of the restricted personalities who accept and adhere to the false doctrine of dualism. The normal emotional intellect of all restricted personalities is fundamentally materialistic in that it cannot cognize reality beyond the limited and limiting five senses. The recognition of ultimate reality requires the reactivating of the uncommon sense of any and all integral person's natural spiritual integrity, which makes the normal emotional intellect of the restricted personality null and void. The realization of at-one-ment is reestablished in mind at a point of awareness where and when the unrestricted individuality of the person intersects the absolute indivisibility of cosmic consciousness. That which disconnected from the solitary source consciousness has been reconnected as a singular issue awareness, and the imprisoned splendor has been released as the source of ultimate light, the soul of the living universe. The solitary source consciousness of the everywhere present dynamic noumenon is an absolute creative principle, which is an intelligent power matrix. All of the holistic phenomenon is a singular issue awareness that is fully immersed in and completely imbued with this solitary source consciousness. This source issue interconnectedness is in a perpetual energy-matter interaction between the complementary attributes which transpires within the universality of mind. Universal mind is the master creator and the primordial evolutionary impersonal force which pervades infinity for eternity with the one creative principal intelligence power. The center of this principal intelligence power is everywhere present, inasmuch as it is without circumference. It is an infinite matrix from out of which an impressed image appears as an expressed likeness. At-one-ment is therefore a universal mind, universal man interconnectedness, where and when the unrestricted individuality of any and all integral persons is attuned to and at one with the absolute indivisibility of the dynamic, holistic, living universe. The Creator created creation, transpiring within the everywhere present consciousness of holism, is simply a matter of awareness over mind, over manifestation, by way of creatively qualifying the primordial evolutionary impersonal force by integral persons. The destructive misqualification of this identical force is equally responsible for the manifestation of the undesirable by way of a limited awareness over the reactive mind, over the materialization of that which is unwanted. The reactive mind is the conditioned mind and the source of the human problem, whereas the universal mind is the unconditioned mind and the source of the human solution. The solution is always perceived through deductive, intuitive reasoning, while the problem is always conceived through inductive, intellectual logic. The former is an unlimited natural spiritual integrity of the unrestricted individualities, while the latter is the limited normal emotional intellect of the restricted personalities, which makes the difference between an integral humanity and a fragmented humanity. At-one-ment is the immanence of the individual Godhood, bound fast to the transcendence of the indivisible Godhead, which transforms the disconnected personality into a newly awakened and reconnected person. All religions that do not reveal the absolute truth of at-one-ment through reintroducing the immanence of transcendence and thereby making the psyche and the soma one have failed as religions and are no more than useless indoctrinal dogmas which do nothing but pervert the purpose. The cosmic intent and divine purpose always was, is now, and always will be for the pure conversion and personification of spirit into unique, distinct, and peerless points of awareness as cosmic individuations who live, move, and preserve their mortal beings within the consciousness of holism. There is only one religious principle, and that is the one which binds the sacredness of human nature back to the divinity of human spirit through the individual's total immersion into the universal mind by way of giving full recognition to the everywhere present consciousness of holism. The one principle is the intentionality of infinite love, which is inspirited through the three-in-one mind powers of instinct, intuition, integrity, thereby preserving a physically alert, mentally aware, and spiritually awake condition of at-one-ment with the nature, mind, spirit consciousness of holism. Holism is an omnipresent spirit, an omniscient mind, and an omnipotent nature, which is a cosmic coagulant that manifests the ultimate reality of at-one-ment throughout infinity for eternity. The coalescence of spirit and nature within mind can only be accomplished through the boundless, unconditional love of the solitary source for its singular issue, and never through the relative affection of conditioned love or the irrelevant infatuation of erotic love. These contending loves are the result of the altruist influence and the hedonist influence in perpetual conflict because of the insane doctrine of dualism which drove a wedge into the spirit psyche and nature soma. Those who contend through the altruistic hedonistic conscious dualism can never know content through the dynamic holistic consciousness of holism, which is the boundless unconditional love of the solitary source for its singular issue. I thank you. The purpose of this reading is to suggest